Hey YouTube, this is Trains and Destinations, and today I'm going to do a quick review on the Acer Swift 7. So, to start off, this is the box of the Acer Swift 7. So as you can see, you got your beautiful looking Acer Swift 7 logo, as well as the Acer logo. And yes, when you do get it, it does come in this black box here. Very nice looking, very premium box. And on the back, it does tell you your specs, which include Windows 10 Home. It has a Core i7-7Y75. It runs at 1.3 gigahertz. It is a dual-core processor, 13.3-inch 1080p IPS display, Intel UHD 615 graphics, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a 512 gigabyte SSD. So obviously pretty high-end specs, especially considering that this laptop came out in 2017. It came out in late 2016, early 2017, and this is the first generation Swift 7. And so when you take a look at the laptop, you can see how the design from the box pretty much transfers over. The whole laptop is black except the logo, this back strip, and the sides. So you have this gold accenting on the sides, as you can see, and the logo. But other than that, the laptop is all black. Now, we'll go back to the laptop in a sec, but let's just show what comes in the box. So, inside the box, you do get a few accessories. If I can get it open here. It's a little hard to do with one hand. There we go. So, inside the box, you are presented with your owner's manual, as well as your setup guide, pretty much. And then in this little compartment here, this laptop actually comes with two dongles. So as you'll see in a sec, the laptop only has two USB Type-C ports on it, and so Acer is gracious enough to give you adapters, unlike some manufacturers like Apple. Yeah. So anyway, so this here is a USB-C to HDMI adapter, and when you get the laptop, you do get these adapters included. And the second adapter is USB Type-C to full-size USB 3.0. So that's really nice that Acer includes that in the box. And again, other manufacturers, it would be nice if they did that too. Apple. Anyway, there's nothing here in the left pocket, and in the right pocket, there's nothing as well. Usually, if you get this brand new, the charger, I believe, will be either in one or both of these pockets, but they're empty because the charger is not here right now. In fact, the charger is right here. So obviously, this is a USB Type-C charger, since the laptop only has USB Type-C ports, and it's not the best charger. I do think that for an ultra portable, ultra thin laptop, it should have a charger like this Asus, where your plug is combined with the power adapter, so that way you don't have a power brick sort of hanging in the middle, which this one has. It's a small power brick, but nevertheless, when you connect it together, you are going to have this sagging power brick, and it really does hurt the portability of this laptop, considering that this is a rather bulky charger. Now, if you're wondering if you can charge this laptop with any USB Type-C charger, I'm not sure. I did try it with my phone charger, which is right here. This is a Samsung phone charger, USB Type-C cable, and I did plug that into the Acer, and it did not work. It would not show up at all. So maybe it's because it's not powerful enough, but I'm not sure. If you have a MacBook charger or a Google Pixel book charger, whether it'll work for the Acer. But at least from what I have, with all the USB-C chargers I have, only this original AC charger, this AC adapter, would work with the Acer. But that being said, it's not that bad, but still, I would have preferred if the AC adapter were combined with the plug. Now, looking at the laptop itself, this is a very, very nice looking laptop. So this came out in 2017, and essentially this was Acer's answer to the then new 12-inch MacBook, which Apple doesn't make anymore. But essentially, think of this as the Windows response to the 12-inch MacBook. And at the time, the HP Spectre was also a super, super thin laptop. So back in 2017, this was actually known as the world's thinnest laptop. And if I move it over here to the side, you can see that this thing is super, super duper thin, like super thin. And I mean, if you want a comparison, I'll bring up the charger, the USB-C port for the charger. And as you can see, almost the same thick. As you can see, this laptop, it looks like it appears to be only about double the thickness. Yeah, this laptop appears to only be roughly double the thickness of the USB-C port for the charger, the USB-C charger, and that's incredible. I mean, again, it is ridiculous how thin this is. But one downside of the thinness is that it does feel kind of fragile. I mean, the whole thing is made out of metal. It's all metal. It's all aluminum. But that being said, it does feel a little fragile. You have very small hinges on the side, and it's just the kind of laptop to where I feel like if you were to drop it, it could possibly break. But that's really the downside of any sort of ultra-thin laptop. Another downside is your lack of ports. So as you can see on the left-hand side, there are no ports. On the back, we have your information, which this particular one was assembled in late 2017. There we go. 12/23 of 2017, which December 23rd is actually my birthday, ironically. But anyway, you got 2 speakers. It does have Dolby Audio pre-installed, and it does sound quite nice. These speakers, they are a little bit muffled because, as you can see, this has very small rubber feet. So if you have the laptop on a bed, for example, the speakers are going to get muffled. But on a desk or in your lap, it sounds better. They aren't the greatest speakers. When you have a laptop this thin, you're not going to have the best quality speakers, but they get the job done and they're decent. Now, as you can see, one problem with this laptop is it gets dirty. I mean, you can see the fingerprints, and that's what happens generally with most black metal laptops, but this one especially. This thing gets fingerprinty super quickly, and this personally really did annoy me because I'm a bit OCD when it comes to keeping my laptops clean. And so this is just the kind of laptop to where if you don't like seeing fingerprints, you're going to have to constantly use a microfiber cloth to keep it clean, to keep it nice and neat, which it does work. I've used a microfiber cloth to clean it, and it does take off the fingerprints. Now, anyway, let's continue on with the tour. On the right-hand side of the laptop, you do have a headphone jack and 2 USB Type-C ports, which is one more port than the 12-inch MacBook. And up here, you have your power light and charge indicator light. Now, opening up the laptop, which you do need 2 hands to do that, you are presented with this display. And this display is awesome. This is a 1080p IPS display, and it is awesome. The brightness is incredible. The colors are nice and vivid. It is a great display. The only downside is that it is a glossy panel. Now, it's not bad when it comes to reflections because usually you can turn up the brightness to get rid of reflections, to overpower any sort of reflections. So it's not bad there. It is a Gorilla Glass 5 display. So the glass is Gorilla Glass 5 like that you would see on a modern phone. And it is nice. It is nice. The glass does feel nice. It's not a touchscreen, but the glass does feel nice. It feels high quality, as you would expect. But the only downside is that, as with any glossy display, dust, fingerprints, it'll show up pretty easily on this display. And anyway, on the top it tells you some of the features. And if you look down on the laptop, you can see the keyboard. The trackpad, as you can see, is very large. It covers, I'd say combined, like if you were to move this trackpad over to one side or the other, it would cover probably half the laptop. It's a huge trackpad. And right here you have a fingerprint sensor, which is really nice. You got your Core i7 7th Gen sticker. Now when you look at the keyboard, it is definitely nicer than that of the 12-inch MacBook because there's actual travel. Like, look at it. There is actual travel. And it's a normal chiclet style keyboard. So it doesn't have stupid butterfly-like switches like the 12-inch MacBook. And it just shows how, in some respects, at least for me at least, this is much superior to a 12-inch MacBook. No, it does not, the display is not as nice, and I would say that the build quality is close, but not as good as the MacBook. I did own a 12-inch MacBook back then, and I would say that this is not as nice in some areas, but in most areas it's better. It has a better keyboard, and even though this laptop is thinner than the MacBook, it has a normal feeling keyboard with more travel. I think it's around 1.2, 1.3-ish millimeters, but it's a very normal feeling keyboard. It's not the best keyboard out there, but it'll more than suffice. Although one downside is that the keyboard does not have backlighting. So the 12-inch MacBook has a variable backlit keyboard. This does not have any backlighting. Apparently, Acer couldn't fit in a backlight. On newer Swift 7s, there's a backlight, but on this one, there isn't, which is a bit unacceptable for a $1,000 plus laptop when brand new, but it is what it is. So anyway, we're going to open her up with the fingerprint reader. And as you can see, that was extremely fast. And let me turn on the brightness. But as you can see, this is a very crisp, very crispy, very, very nice display, as you can see. And with my background drawing here, everything just looks so sharp and so crisp. It's really nice. And yes, Acer likes to tout that this is a 1080p display. Now, anyway, I'm going to go into the storage, which as you can see, it does have a 512 gigabyte SSD, which is really nice. And back in 2017, this was really a high-end, very premium feature. And as you can see from the specs, yep. Core i7Y. And if we open up our task manager, you can see that at idle, we use up about almost 40% of the RAM, which is not the best, but it's not bad either. It's kind of what you would expect. And if you look at the CPU, like I said, it's a dual-core processor, Core i7 7Y75 running at a base clock of 1.3 gigahertz. Now, in terms of the performance, it's not bad. Now, if I were to open up Microsoft Edge, for example, Edge does load up pretty quickly. I mean, it does depend, it really does depend more on your internet than anything. But anyway, it's not bad. It's not bad. The performance for basic stuff like web browsing and really the performance for things such as web browsing, email, all that sort of stuff, it's lightning fast. It's lightning fast. It's really good. For more demanding things though, it depends. So I did try some gaming on here and it does have the power to game. But because this laptop has no fans, it gets really hot. So you can play basic games on here, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. But essentially though, who is this laptop for? Well, this laptop, to best describe it, is the Windows equivalent. This is the Windows competitor, at least at the time, to the 12-inch MacBook. And I would say that this laptop is superior. It has a better keyboard. The trackpad is larger in some respects, but not as good. So the trackpad's not as good as the MacBook, but the keyboard is better. I think the design is better than the MacBook. It has more ports. Acer gives you dongles. In terms of battery life, it gets about 7 to 8 hours on the charge. So not super long battery life, not as good as the MacBook, but it is what it is. You know, you do make some sacrifices when you go for a laptop that's this thin. And I mean thin. I mean, really. It is unbelievable to see how thin this laptop is. And yeah, you can see what I mean by the tiny hinges. This guy is a little fragile, but if you want a laptop that's super portable and super lightweight, you know, this is really your best option. And you can find these 2017 Swift 7s pretty cheap. They cost around $500-ish on eBay. I've seen them go for about $500 to $600, and they're very solid. And especially if you can get one in good condition, this will make a good laptop depending on your use case. If you're a college student or if you're just someone who's constantly on the go, this will be a very nice laptop for you. If you don't need a touchscreen, remember, this is not a touchscreen, it's not a 2-in-1, but if you're someone looking for a traditional, very thin, very light laptop, then the Swift 7 will suffice. Despite its minor issues, overall, it's a really, really good laptop. So anyway, thanks for watching my review of the Acer Swift 7.